IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. I'm Brian here with you for the hour. As is my way of doing it, I wanted to let you know that this show was recorded about an hour ago, a little more, like an hour and 15 minutes ago. I like to give IPM Nation enough time to upload in terms of the recording, but we're under like a severe weather, thunderstorms and torrential rains and this and that. So while I still have an internet signal, I thought, right, into every life a little rain must fall. While I still have an internet signal, thought I'd go ahead, try to get the show up, which means that it has to be pre-recorded, try to get the show up so that it'll be here waiting for you at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Then again, later at 5 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. as well. So, apologies for it not being a live show. That said, still text me, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. I don't think a thunderstorm can knock out my ability to text, I don't believe. So send me a text anyways, and I'll respond to you in that particular time frame. But I wanted to let you know, as I say up front, that this is recorded a little while ago, still this morning, still today, which is Wednesday. And so that's that. There's a little bit of my disclaimer. Also, wanted to thank everybody. Today is the 99th episode of All Natural Being. Meaning tomorrow, let me do the math real quick. Tomorrow is the 100th episode. 100 shows about you. The real you. The true you. The you that from time to time, you have to admit, we give the silent treatment. Right? We don't pay attention. We go, I don't always go in and bring out my best. I don't always go in and mine my own gold. For that matter, I could have said mine or mind, my own goal. Right? So, this is a show about that aspect of us that sometimes, we turn a blind eye or a deaf ear. We're not always connected to our all-natural being. And I think we're still number one this morning. And I think that's because, as I say all the time, this really is a show about you. The authentic you. The primordial you, the pristine you. So I thought we could focus on that some this morning. Got some great stories for around the internet, but I also wanted to start off this morning. I had an interview last evening with Matt Connerton, Unleashed at IPM Nation, and his cohort in crime. That particular show is a guy named John. Very nice hanging out with him. And Matt is great at interviewing. Brought up some great questions. And it dawned on me that in that moment, I had never shared one little particular part of the story, which I think it's only fair to share with you all this morning. Matt asked me a bunch of great questions, but one of the ones early on, then we'll talk a little bit about, how'd you get this term survival expert? How is it that you're all over TV? How did that come to be? But more importantly, how did you get started down this path? What was the beginning of All Natural Being? And for those of you that have listened in the past, you may know, if you've read anything that I've written, you may know, if you know anything about me, maybe even seen me on television, heard me on radio interviews, you know a little bit about this, that I was a police officer in New York, called to identify my father's body post-suicide, post-13-story leap to his own death. And that at the time, I felt a tremendous sense of guilt for what had happened. So I ended up resigning from the police department, traveling as far away as I could, packed everything into my little red two-door Subaru, drove as far away as I could, ended up in Venice Beach in California, And that's where I spent the next couple of months trying to figure out what would compel a human being to take its own life, to end its own life, to end its time in the garden of the mortals. But what I shared with Matt yesterday, and I think I may have written about it in the book Something to Believe in years ago, but I haven't shared it publicly. At least speaking about it, I haven't shared it publicly in all these decades. But another purpose behind my search for something to believe in, another purpose for my search for all natural being, began when I started wondering about, as I've said, what would compel a human being to take its own life? What happens to a mind when it votes itself off the island, if you will? You know, you study the life of Hemingway. Hemingway committed suicide. You read the reports of his fourth or fifth wife. She said, the gun accident that went off while he was cleaning. Well, he was pretty good with his guns. He knew what was going on. What I found fascinating in that part of my investigation early on, right, being a cop, then soon to be an ex-cop, trying to figure out everything I could about how could this happen? What would precipitate this? In doing some research, I found out Hemingway's father had committed suicide. Same way, too. Gun blast to the head. So a portion of my leaving law enforcement was that I didn't trust myself. It was not just the sense of guilt for having been responsible at that time, what I believed, responsible for my father's suicide. I began to wonder if suicide could be genetically encoded and passed on to offspring. If suicide had passed from Hemingway's father to Hemingway, or at least the idea, the concept, that's one thing. But if it had genetically passed to where someone was predisposed to that, and I don't know if anyone else knows, I don't believe I've shared this before, but I had a first cousin, my uncle, my dad's brother, his oldest daughter, beautiful, beautiful young lady, head cheerleader, just beautiful person, had everything going for her in high school, came home one day and hung herself in her closet. So a portion of me leaving law enforcement was I began to wonder, could it be genetically encoded? If, like Hemingway, if my father, and I'm no Hemingway, right? Reminds me of that old thing. I knew Senator Kennedy. Let me tell you, you're no Senator Kennedy. President Kennedy, whoever it was. I always remember that speech. I'm not saying I was a Hemingway. I'm simply saying that, is it at all possible that if it's genetically encoded, suicide, how is it that I had a first cousin, oldest of my uncle's kids? How is it that she did it, then my father does it? Could there be a predisposition for something like that? And if so, what was I going to do to guard against it? Well, the first thing I could do to guard against it was surrender a gun. And unfortunately, the badge had to go with it. But in surrendering the gun and the badge, it was a way to make sure that I could trust myself. Because I didn't know at that time. So my search for all natural being, my search for something to believe in, my search that has led me to thousands, and I mean thousands of books, thousands of classes, thousands of interviews. I've been doing this for a long time. Everyone talks about, in order to be good at something, you need 10,000 hours. Well, I hit 10,000 hours 10,000 hours ago. And that was my second plateau of 10,000 hours, I'll bet. And I did it because I needed to know, what if it is genetically encoded? How does one buffer himself or herself from that mindset? And this was long before neuroscience, the heyday of neuroscience. But I needed to figure out what would compel a human being, any human being, myself included, What compelled Sylvia Plath, the great writer, to fill her raincoat full of rocks, walk into a river? What compelled some of the other great names in human history to take their own life? I needed to know. So that was the beginning of my study, is that I had to know for the people that I had hoped to help one day down the road, but I also needed to know because I was encouraged at the thought of helping myself. What was it? And now, through all these years of study, I still believe that there is a precursor to biological suicide, and that's philosophical suicide. That's giving up on your all-natural being. That's folding your hand long before your time in the garden of the mortals is up. That's refusing to run the course of the labyrinth, to bring your grit, to bring your spine, to bring your naturally thick skin, and give it a go. And that was the beginning for me. And why all these years later, I'm still doing it, as I said last evening. Emerson's poet, Success, the last couple lines, to know even one life is breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. And some people say Emerson borrowed that from someone else, but you get the gist. To know even one life is breathed easier because you have lived, this is to succeeded. So when I start out each day with the concept of all natural being, I'm hoping to find some kindred like me on the cusp, right? Tired of the philosophical suicide we've been spoon-fed and we've accepted, right? Takes two to traumatize. Takes two to traumatize. You got to have the event and you have to have your interpretation of the event. So it's my hope every day that I can help just one person go, you know what? I think he might be right. I'm not saying that I want to help someone, although absolutely I would. I'm not implying that everyone that listens to this show is in one way or another suicidal. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the philosophical suicide that could lead one to go, I'm just not into this gig. I think I'll check out. Before I even tap in, I think I'll tap out. And that was the beginning of my search. And that's what led me, and if I can belabor the point for just a couple more minutes, that's what led me, everyone says, you're a survival expert. I got the greatest solace from that sense of guilt, from that sense of responsibility for my father's death. I got the greatest solace when I was alone in nature, out in the middle of nowhere. And every religion, at least the ones I've studied, and I've studied dozens of them at length. There's a top 20 religion, and they have a book that codifies what they believe. I've studied it cover to cover, most cases more than twice. Now, granted, Joseph Campbell was a great help to me along the way with The Hero of the Thousand Faces, which is one of the first books that I ever read in terms of my quest. What would cause someone to go to the underworld, would recruit going to the underworld, and then go, hey, I'm done. But every one of those religions references the still small voice, the inner whisper, the intuition, the instinct that comes when the individual is alone in nature. And you've heard me say it countless times in the past, so I won't go over here. But pick a religion, somewhere within that religion, again, and I'm sure there's religions outside the top 20, right, outside the top dozen, where someone might go, well, I found this religion, and there wasn't an individual alone out in the middle of nowhere when the divide came. Okay, great. Like I say all the time, can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. But of the top ones that I've studied, that still small voice always comes in nature, always comes when the individual is alone, always comes. I don't know if I mentioned it of late, but when you think about it, Jesus going into the garden by himself, all the disciples, his entourage, his bodyguard go, hey, we'll go with you. He's like, nah, you hang here. I'll go the rest of the way on my own. Buddha sits under a tree. He didn't take an army with him. He went by himself. Jacob in the Pool of Stones leaves everybody on the other side of the fjord, other side of the river, pillow of stones, sleeping by himself. That's when the angel comes. Joseph Smith, the woods of Palmyra, New York, from the Mormon faith. So that's what led me to become a survival expert, so to speak, is that I was going out in the middle of nowhere. And I can tell you the very first time I did, I had no idea about tents and sleeping bags and water and food. I remember the first time I ever got a backpack. and went out. It was in the wilderness of Wisconsin. I had a friend that had acres and acres and acres of wild property up there. So I packed everything into a backpack and set out for the weekend. Well, I didn't know anything about anything. I bet you that backpack weighed 150 pounds. The only thing I didn't have in it was a satellite dish. So over the years, wanting more and more time alone with that still small voice, more and more time alone with that voice that I think, had it been fully integrated, had it been fully reawakened, had it been fully enmeshed in who it really was, that would have been the dissenting vote that was absent when my father decided to step off that ledge. That would have been the dissenting vote that talked Hemingway out of following the same path his father did. That would have been the dissenting vote that kept Sylvia Plath from putting those stones in her pocket as opposed to just skipping them on the water. That dissenting voice has, since the very first time I heard it, always come to me when I'm alone in nature, when I'm out in the middle of the wilderness. And sometimes that wilderness can be in your own mind. There are places in your mind that we just refuse to go. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. Some of the things that you and I can do to make absolutely certain that when it comes to exploring the wilderness of our own mind, we do it compassionately. Right? We talked at length about compassion yesterday, about being a part of the field. Well, that compassion, yes, it has to have teeth at times, but it also has to have an open embrace. And it's that open embrace, the compassion that you give yourself when you look in the mirror. That's what counts. And we're going to talk about selfies this morning. We're going to talk about how I'm using Twitter now. I think I mentioned this before, where I just use Twitter to, kind of like blowing out some of the carbon. I throw up some ideas. It's wild. I threw up an idea this weekend, and then this morning I see this big article about what I said. So I want to share that. I want to share that with you as well. We want to talk about elite mindfulness, what I call inner orienteering, all the benefits, none of the BS, when it comes to hacking your brain to gain the ultimate advantage, which is you. You are your own ultimate advantage. If you're my age, you probably remember Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Remember the book? He says you have the freedom to be yourself, your true self, here and now, and nothing can stand in your way. You are your own ultimate advantage. You are your own cutting edge. And that's what I want to focus on this morning. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We will be right back. IPMNation.com. All right, digging it. The lights just flickered. Rain pounding against the window. But hey, we're still recording. We're still up. So I'm digging that. All Natural Being this morning, recorded just a few hours ago. Well, just so you know, it's 8 o'clock Central Time as I'm recording this. So a couple hours before you're actually hearing it. Big storm pushing on the way, so we wanted to go ahead and try to get this show up so that if we do lose our power in these big storms, then we won't have anything to worry about this morning. So we're going ahead and doing the show a little bit before. But please, still, text me, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. I want to hear what you're thinking, want to hear what you have to say. And even if the show is taped, I keep that number open. So it's with me, and I'll respond back. It's, again, a power withstanding. All right, let's go ahead this morning quickly and get to our anaerobic aphorism, and then we'll come back because we got some cool stuff, I think. So let's do this. As you know, I do all of my own. Stunning, right? All of my own pre-production. So let me get over here and go over here, and then I turn this. I click this on here. Maybe the internet's a little slower than we thought. Okay, so this morning's anaerobic aphorism. You are your own guiding light. You're it. You are the A game. You are the grit, the resilience, the stamina. That's all in you. You are your own guiding light. Any shadows in your life are cast by your blind spots. Think about it. If you got a light inside of yourself and all you see are shadows out on the ground, if you're not illuminating that light, so to speak, if you stick with me in the metaphor just a couple more seconds, right, then it's your own blind spots that create those shadows. It's your own clouds that block the sun. And I think I've shared this story with you before, but from a very early age, very profound experience, getting on that plane, flying to Virginia as a young boy, Piedmont Airlines. Remember it for two reasons. One, first time I ever had dry roasted peanuts, thought it was cool. They gave you a little package. You got them for free, right? Growing up, my family didn't have a lot, so free peanuts, I'm like, I'm in. And the second memory indelibly etched in my mind from that plane ride was how thick the clouds were. It was raining. A day not unlike today, really, which is probably what made it spring to mind. A day not unlike today. Heavy rains, thick clouds. And I was a little upset. First time I'd ever left my mom, at least for an extended period of time, right? First time I'd ever left my mom, so I was a little bit upset. Get on the plane, I'm crying, I end up falling asleep, wake up, who knows how much longer after that. But I wake up, my face feels like it's on fire. And probably not much of a stretch to realize that I woke up because the sun was beating down on my face, and the window on the Piedmont Airlines airplane had become like a magnifying glass, and the sun was just beating down on me. And I woke up and I wasn't sure where I was. The first time I'd ever been on an airplane. And I kind of rubbed my eyes and rubbed my head, figuring out what had been dumped on me and why my face was so hot. And I looked out and I saw this white carpet beneath me. And that white carpet was the cloud deck. But what was more magnetic for me was the fact that I could see the blue horizon, and up above the blue horizon I could see the light. And I realized in that moment, as a young boy, the only thing that kept the sun from shining in my life, day in and day out, was something as immaterial as the clouds. And I know it sounds a little cliche, a little glib, a little trite. But it really was that understanding that in the moment it was something as flimsy as condensed water molecules. It was something as flimsy as a cloud that kept the sun from my life. And to this day, honest to goodness, even as it pours outside right now, I go, right above that, how freaking cool is that? Right above this torrent of rain, the cloud deck. Right above that, the sun is still shining, warm as ever. And the clouds will pass, this too shall pass, the storm will pass. And when it does, sunlight. So again, you are your own guiding light. That's the anaerobic aphorism for today. Any shadows in your life are cast by your own blind spots, by your own inner cloudiness, your own overcast, if you will. If the atmosphere were your attitude, it's the attitude of you thinking, life isn't all that great. So really what it boils down to is that the power of recall is the only personal power worth having. Only personal power is the power of remembering who you ultimately are. Be inspired by that. Don't be motivated by some outside source. Be inspired by the inside source, which is you. You are your own guiding light. Any shadows in your life are cast by your blind spots. We talk all the time about amnesia. You've simply forgotten. If you're unhappy, if you're unsuccessful, if you're unfulfilled, if you're just blah, if you're just down, if you're like, oh, there's got to be more to life than this, there is. It's you. When you hear people say, oh, there's got to be more to life than this, absolutely true. You're more than life. You're the it. You are your own guiding light. Any shadows in your life are cast by your own blind spots. It's our own amnesia. So, as you remember, our 3 steps. Apathy, which causes us to go, I'm not going to use that muscle. Atrophy, when the muscle gets weak because you haven't been using it because you're apathetic. And then what happens after it atrophies? Amnesia. You forget it's even there. Imagine breaking your leg playing soccer when you were little. And they decided to leave the cast on for 3 years. What would happen to the musculature of your leg? What would happen to your balance? What would happen to any muscle that communicates directly or indirectly with those muscles? What would happen to them? Well, that's the same thing. When we cast ourselves in our blind spots, when we cast ourselves in our amnesia, when we buy into our apathy and atrophy and amnesia, we wake up and go, oh, well, amnesia, there's more apathy, more atrophy, more atrophy, more amnesia. Oh, wake up. It's like Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Amnesia, more apathy. It's just a vicious vortex. Blind spots begin to pile up on each other. And instead of rabbit holes, which we can explore, we end up with pigeonholes. And then from pigeonholes, we end up with thunderstorms. Where just the frenetic energy, all the thoughts, all the binge thinking, all the bad crap, craziness in our life is swirling around to such a degree that we just can't see the sun shining. But it's there. It's in you, or you wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be here. If you're still here, everyone worried, well, I'm curious what happens in the afterlife. Well, I wouldn't be, if I were you, if I may be so bold as to suggest. There'll come a time where you'll be in the afterlife, and if you've turned your back on this life, that's just going to suck. No matter how you think it's going to work out for you, you turn your back on the life that you were granted. Big bang or big breath, don't have to go into it this morning. For those of you who are new, you define the divine however you want to. But you go into the afterlife, whatever that means, having lived a crappy life in this life, through no one's fault but your own. We all have things that are thrown at us. But if we're truly unhappy, if we're truly depressed, if we're truly unfulfilled, if we truly feel that we're unloved, if we truly feel any of those own things, we just have to stand up and go, all right, I'm outed. You busted me. I'm a co-conspirator. I let those negative thoughts in. Those negative thoughts kind of, built up and created a negative energy in my mind. But it's me. I'm me. I can stop it anytime I want. Don't sign for the package. Tell UPS, what can Brown do for you? Keep the package. Send it back to sender. Return to sender. I'm not interested in letting those negative thoughts in. And once we admit that if we're unhappy, we're the co-conspirator, everyone wants to find the other person. Oh, I blame her. Oh, I'm blaming him. What an ass. That's only half the equation. Unless you and I admit we're honest with ourselves, we're honest with the look in the mirror, we're honest that we're a co-conspirator, that we've surrendered, that we've caved, that we've capitulated, that we've allowed someone else to have the remote control to our own heart, the remote control to our own head. We give that up to somebody else, and then we sit around going, oh, well, I gave him the remote control, and he's just wreaking havoc in my life. Really? You don't say. You ever done that before? I've done it before. Never worked out good for me. That's what I love about hanging out 5 days a week here with All Natural Being. Hanging out with kindred. You and I may not be rock stars yet. We're on the cusp. And that's what makes us so cool. We've woken up in enough time to do something about it and go, yes, I want to channel my All Natural Being. Big blow up of late because I've said mindfulness. You don't need the apps. Oh, the #1 selling mindfulness app. Right, so technology that's caused you to multitask and become disconnected to who you really are. The best way to cure that technology is with more technology. Good idea. Sure. No. Meditation just reminds you of who you already are. That's the goal. We're not looking for stillness in a universe that does nothing but vibrate. Come on. You're a badass already. And if you're buying the headlines, the bylines from the people written around you, the people that don't want to channel their inner badass, so that they're like, oh, no. Oh, let's convince him or her, let's convince them that they're not all that great, because if they get to be great, then we're going to be outed as just some cognitive couch potatoes. So let's go ahead, get them on this bandwagon of, they're not all that something special. When you and I both know that you are. You and I both know that you are. And anyone that loves you, anyone that truly cares for you, anyone that's got anything going on cognitively would never hold you back from reconnecting with your all-natural being. And never do it. What's the benefit? Where's the compassion in that? When we allow ourselves to be wounded by another, we're the co-conspirator. We're the co-conspirator. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
Thank you for all the new follows. Just got a couple in on Twitter and Instagram. I got to do more on Instagram. I got to work on that. It's like, I should also tell you, speaking about doing more, don't forget allnaturalbeing.com. Send me an email. I'll send you one back. Here's what we're going to do. We're studying. I'm taking a couple different webinars, a couple different classes, working with some really cool people. But I want to do a shout out to Telestream and Wirecast, because here's what we're going to be doing. I'm working today, if we have power, right? But I'm working today, and we're going to start, I'm hoping, my thought process is that I can learn this stuff. By the 1st of September, we're going to start our own broadcast network on Facebook. So I guess this is kind of like a dun-dun-dun, some kind of big announcement. You'd think I could have teased this more. I just suck at social media. Let's be honest. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I spend all my time breathing. So I'm trying to learn all this stuff. Oh, what a dope. In any event, we're going to start... By we, I mean me and my two bozo clowns. Oh, and I do have a statue, not life-size. I mean, I can barely get in here, but I got a couple statues of David. I got some other... Right, so my studio audience is my artwork, some of maybe my books, I guess. But we're going to start our own broadcast network. So my goal is to broadcast this show live via Facebook so that we can start doing some things that we want to watch, that we want to focus on, that we want to pay attention to. Now... I'll be hoping to get some guests. That's what I'm working on. Because we've talked about it before. Once you get to the 100th episode, I think people should go, you know what? I think he's committed to this. He may not have hundreds of thousands of followers, but he's committed to it, so why don't we go ahead and give him an interview? You know, it's always funny because you reach out to these authors on Twitter. You go, hey, would you like to come on? Oh, yeah, just direct message me. Then you never hear them again. You check like a month later, they've unfollowed you on Twitter and the like. So I get that. When you're not a big fish, what are you going to do? But my thought is we build and we have this broadcast network. I don't want to sell television because I'm going to be going after. I love this idea of as more and more people tune out television news, television broadcasts, and all the rest of this, I want to be the one to go, okay, great, I'll take up some of the slack. We'll take some of the slack. All Natural Being is going to be broadcast 5 days a week as a video channel. We're going to be doing it live on Facebook. And the really cool news, in working with the good folks over at Telestream and Wirecast, the really cool news is that now you can import a video feed live into Facebook. Don't know if you knew this. You're probably smarter than me. It's not going to, right? It's probably already a guarantee that you're smarter than me when it comes to this kind of stuff. But now you can import video signals right into Facebook, and that's how we're going to do our interviews. So I really am working on. I know I've been saying for a while, we're gonna start sending a video signal, but that's what we're gonna do. Of course, we'll still have the audio. We'll have everything else that we're doing, and I suspect the audio is still going to be right here on IPM Nation, and then we'll rebroadcast on IPM Nation the video signal, but it will be live on Facebook, and I'm very excited about that. So that's going to be coming a couple more days of a learning curve. I'll get this all dialed in, and that's what we'll be doing. So I wanted to make mention of that fact. Also, don't forget, you're always welcome, Brian Brawdy Official over at Facebook, Brian Brawdy Official. Like you can come over to Twitter at Brian Brawdy, but let me just go over there. I'm using Twitter now as like a clearinghouse for my mind, where I throw up some thoughts and then just let people slam me left and right and go, oh, all right, Let me see how this one worked. So I wanted to share this one with you. This is one that I put up, and I mentioned earlier, and it kind of blew me away because like, wow, didn't I just talk about that? And then I see this huge article. So here's what I want to do. I simply said over the weekend that I'm working on my next book. It's called Suicide by Selfie. And the byline was, if peacocks had camera phones, would they forego fanning their tails? So now, I'm not slamming people that put up selfies. What I am simply suggesting is that maybe we should boycott selfies just for a day. No more selfies. I have to tell you, I'm not sure. I'm almost certainly sure I've never taken a selfie. And I'm going to call the book, wink, wink, nod, nod, it's a joke, but if I were going to write a book, it would be called Suicide by Selfie. Because we get so focused on what other people think about the way we look, what other people think about what we're doing, about what other people think of where we are. Just take a little bit of a break every so often and just be thankful where you are. Be thankful with how great you look, however you look. So the only reason I brought it up, because, you know, I should have a Friday show called Unfriend Fridays, because sometimes when I say stuff like this, we lose 1,000 people. All right, we lose like that. Go, wow, was there a sale next door? How did I lose? Hey, is this microphone on? Hello? Hello? Anybody listening? So I came across this article. Thank goodness. This article only has everything to do with guys. So let's just start off right now and the title of the article over at Learning Mind. Men with selfie addiction. They're psychopaths. Or at least they have higher tendencies, according to the article. Selfie addiction can be directly linked to psychopaths, you figure? And in terms of their behaviors and tendencies, a new study has found, quote, according to the article, we're all guilty of indulging in the excessive vanity of the selfie. Well, not all of us, but some of us. Some even go as far as shamelessly taking selfies in public places. Well, I never really thought of that. Are there people that take selfies in their own homes? Maybe I guess there are. All right, so I guess they're saying that the co-conspirator in all this are smartphones. Smartphones are made, especially with the introduction of the front-facing camera. We're plunged into the world of selfies and snapshots and peacock tails. And then the Twitter post, I spelled tails, T-A-L-E-S. Just everyone wants to brag about what they're doing. According to the article, quote, although selfies seem like a harmless form of self-expression in social media, research has shown that the more selfies men take on a regular basis, you got yourself a psychopath there on the scale. Ohio State University. Ohio State. Oh, that's the Buckeyes, right? Go Buckeyes. For my friends from Cleveland listening, go Buckeyes. Ohio State cutting-edge study found that selfie addiction or an excessive taking of selfies makes you a psychopath. At least increases the behaviors and tendencies. Here was what was interesting to me. Also, the time that is taken to edit these pictures can correlate to narcissism and negative body images. In extreme cases, this can lead to body dysmorphia and self-harm, right, where people don't dig the way they look. So they take the selfie, they throw it into Photoshop. I don't know, is there Photoshop on for selfies? How do you amend a photo on a smartphone? I guess there is. You could do something with them. But so you have people that take selfies and go, oh, look at me. Click, 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 click. And then you have people that take selfies and they go, oh, look at me. And they do everything they can. So here's what the study says. Quote, there were fluctuations of these traits within what was considered as a normal range in behaviors and tendencies in males. So don't get worried. If you're a psychopath, don't worry about it. If you're a narcissistic psychopath, don't worry. Just because you take a lot of selfies doesn't mean that you're definitely a psychopath. There's just some evidence that shows that you might be. You just may be. It's already been seen as a widespread, it says here, and according to the article, quote, it's already been seen as a widespread issue that certain aspects of social media and photography can cause low self-esteem and eating disorders. But it has not been as widely voiced that this is a problem for the male half of society too. So apparently we're all vulnerable to it. And what was fascinating to me, it says, quote, if you take a large amount of time meticulously analyzing, judging, and editing your photos, this can pull up much more worrying flags on the scale of self-objectification and low self-esteem. So not only if you snap a selfie and you go, oh, look, I'm a selfie. Here we go. But then if you obsess about, oh, I can't do that. Does whose camera make me look weird? Right? Camera angles. That's why I say all the time, with a hair lip and the scars from the skin cancer. I have a face for radio. I've been dealing with it my whole life. But in any event, they say that taking the selfies, you fall somewhere on the scale between a psychopath and a narcissist, if it's outside of what they consider to be the norm. I don't know what's the norm. You and I should decide. Maybe a selfie a day, is that a cool norm? So all I'm suggesting is for one day, no selfies. One day, no posting where you are. One day, just go, I am so content. I am so happy. I am so absolutely thrilled. But I remember to bring some ice water with me. Excuse me. I am so absolutely thrilled with where I am, I'm not even going to take my cell phone out of my pocket. Let's just try it. Because what's cool about this test is if we can't make it an hour without bragging about where we are, how we look, who we're with, right? I love all these street creds. You see these experts with pictures of all these famous people that they paid to get in, and then, oh, can I get my picture taken with you? And they put their arm like that, voices some kind of what? Oh, this is a great guy because he had his picture taken with me. I'm just a rock star. What's fascinating to me is you look at some of these pictures and you look at the look on the faces of some of the celebrities, and they're like, who is this guy? Is there security here? Where is my personal detail? So maybe, just for a while, what if we say we boycott selfies? There's the big article. Thanks to the folks at Learning Mind. There's the big article to follow up to my next book, Suicide by Selfie. If peacocks had camera phones, would they forego fanning their tails? Talk about not enjoying the moment. That's one of the things that I've always had about taking pictures. Most of my pictures have always come in terms of focusing on wildlife, but other times I was like, I think I'd just like to be here. What was it? There was that one movie with, was it Sean Penn and somebody else, the Great Life of Walter Mitty, The Amazing Life of Walter Mitty. Who was that guy? Zoolander. I can't remember the name of the actor, but he was in it. Ben somebody. And they get in all this position, gets ready to take the picture of the snow leopard, and he goes, nah, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to disrupt the moment. So maybe we could agree to boycott some selfies just for a little bit, even if you do it for 20 minutes and go, nah, I'm too thrilled right now to have to document this moment because I'm sure everyone on social media wants to know. Just for 20 minutes. And if we can't do it, then we got to ask ourselves some questions. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
Or something else that would be cool, we could take selfies that really aren't ourselves, but like, let's take a selfie of our kneecap. Take a selfie of our elbow. Take a selfie of a parking meter. Oh, I wanted to let you know where I am. Click. Maybe we could do that. I'm just having some fun with you. I'm simply saying that if we can't go somewhere, can't be somewhere, can't do something without feeling a compelling need to make sure. Oh, and you hear it all the time now. People go, well, if you're going to be on social media, people want to know what you're doing. Do y'all ever even care what I'm doing? No, I barely care about what I'm doing. I barely care about bragging about what I'm doing. I'm too enveloped in the moment. All right, I think we got it. All right, so here was another one that I really liked. Title of the article, Why the Silent Treatment is Scientifically the Best Way to Deal with Difficult People. Ignore them. Quote, it's a very quick way to make someone realize that they are in the wrong or simply just to ignore what they have to say. Don't buy into the argument. Difficult people are everywhere. I find fascinating this article. The article starts off by saying ignorant and difficult people. I'm always fascinated by people that call other people ignorant. I'm always fascinated by people that call other people. But what are you going to do? Difficult people are everywhere. They are impossible to avoid. And when someone gets on your nerves, irritates you, or says something stupid, three totally different things. Someone gets on your nerves, you let them in to stand on your nerves. Someone irritates you, let's be honest. Best acronym, breathe in, exhale, scan the situation, then take action. Someone irritates you, you let them in. You don't have an external irritation button. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to the way your normal life might be going, you don't have an irritation button on the outside of you. You don't wear that button on your sleeve. That irritation button is on the inside of you. Or someone says something stupid. Well, good golly. How are you going to... I don't like the S word, but if someone says something stupid, what are you going to do with that? Well, you ignore it. That's what we're going to do. So it says sometimes silent treatment is the easiest way to deal with it. The Journal of Social and Personal Relationships published a study which actually showed that ignoring someone who is particularly insufferable can be much better and healthier for you than spending your time and your energy engaging in whatever the drama of the day is. Quote, engaging with someone who is obnoxious and irritating can be stressful. You think? I love these articles. And very mentally draining. Well, sure, because you're giving all your energy to deal with something outside of yourself, as opposed to using that energy to go, I'm not going to sign for the package. According to the article, it makes a lot of sense that if you ignore them, that removes the stress. Big studies, everything going on, they found that those who ignored people had a much higher reading in a thought-based exercise after the fact. So they do this test. You're forced to put up with someone droning on. They give you a test. You don't do so well. Someone's droning on. You throw in your noise-canceling headphones, tune them out, and then, lo and behold, you do a lot better on the test. So what's that tell you? Don't let the bat crap crazy in. You'll be stronger, more flexible, happier, smarter. Don't let the bat crap crazy in. That's what I say. According to the article, quote, although it can be difficult to ignore people, you get good with it with practice. Let me tell you. And many feel as though irritating the irritation. Well, typo alert. Many of those feel as though irritating. The irritation never works. It just makes it worse. What it means is buying into the irritation. It just makes things work. There's now evidence to prove that you will perform much better if you simply get on with your own things and ignore them. Now, this would be a phenomenal article if the only thing we had to worry about were all the bat crap crazy people circling around our life. But this is also great advice when you get some of those negative, non-compassionate, those amnesic thoughts, those blind spot thoughts. Best thing to do? Ignore them. And the best way that I've found to do it is that when I have a particular thought that just keeps bombarding me, right? You know the one word I use? One word. When those thoughts hit, and it's like na 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 na, and your mind just goes, "Are you kidding me?" You know what I say? Enough. Enough. That's all I do. I say it to myself, and then I wait, do a best round, 20-second victory, and it's been my experience that when you do that, when you say, because I think at the time your mind truly thinks you work for it. It forgets that it works for you. So when your mind's busy going, oh, let me hijack the bus. Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You go, enough. The mind goes, oh, wait, what? What? I go, take a time out. Go build a sandcastle. Whatever you're going to do, go hang out over there. And it's been my experience that when those thoughts start and you go, enough. It's enough. They fade away. And in that instant, that split second, you realize, hey, I really do control these thoughts. They really are like clouds. They're like leaves in the front yard. They just blow around. They blow away. Blow onto some people's yards, blow into other people's yards. The dragonfly I talked about the other day while I was sitting out front. Dragonfly comes up, probably like 5 feet from me, but right at eye level, just stood there. I suspect staring at me. I don't know for sure. But then, all of a sudden, I'm sitting there a couple seconds, 3, 4 seconds, I suspect, looking at this thing, turning my head, thinking it's looking at me, and all of a sudden, it's gone. Well, that's what thoughts are like. They come and go. Didn't affect me that the dragonfly left. That was like one of my thoughts. Doesn't affect my all-natural being if the dragonfly blows away, if the clouds part, showing the blue sky, if the leaves blow away, if the duck on the river, one of my favorite things is to watch ducks go by on the river. Quack, 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 quack. Just float on by. Well, your all-natural being, again, I know it's terribly cliche. Oh, your all-natural being is like a flowing river. Well, just try it. Think about those things, and then when a thought pops up, go, enough. Not another word. Enough. And if you do it in that kind of, because people say to me all the time when we do the classes, people say, well, Brian, that's being critical, telling yourself enough. And then most times you find those are the same people that ask if you validate parking, but that's a different story. Well, all I'm saying is if you do it in a somewhat enough, zip it, needle knits, go sit in the corner, no snacks for you if you keep it up. If you just say enough to yourself, you'll find your mind goes, snaps right to attention. So yes, when it comes to the bat crap craziness going on outside our lives, best to ignore them. Thinking of my friend, called me last week, said she was gone to a wedding. She sat down next to someone, and for the next 35 minutes, I think she told me, she said the person just was unloading on them. So much so she sat up and go, how did I get stuck at this table? I want my wedding gift back. No, she didn't say that. I'm making that up. But she said it went on forever. That's one part of bad crap crazy. Yes, I want my wedding gift back. Give me that. I should have known not to go where you were registered. Who would stick me next to this person? I'm just guessing. I don't know. She never said that. I don't want her getting mad. But there's also the bad crap craziness that we tolerate in our own minds. I'm guilty of it. Good golly, I'm guilty of it. That's what I say all the time. People talk, oh, well, enlightenment. Do this meditation, and you will be enlightened. It's just another carrot on the end of the stick. Oh, use this guided meditation app. Even someone in an article I read yesterday said, oh, I become so attached to the sound of his voice. Wait for it. Right? Still not attached to the sound of your own voice. Oh, no. I bought this meditation app, and it's read to me by someone from Australia. Now I'm hooked on the Australian accent. And that's meditation. Really. Enough. Go to timeout. All I'm suggesting is it's your own voice. It's the sound of your own breath. We pare away the bat crap crazy going on in our own lives. Multitasking is another one. And then we wonder, how can my life seem so frenetic, so frantic? How can so many things seem to just be buzzing around me? Well, you got yourself a bucket list. You're trying to do 8 things at once. And people make fun of me. They go, well, give me a meditation that you like doing. You know what it is between you and me? Brushing my teeth. Would you know right now how many teeth you have in the top row of your own mouth? Do you know? You know what the number is? One of the best meditations can be just brushing your teeth, paying attention to what's going on with the brush, your teeth, your gums, your tongue. That's meditation. Driving in a car, drive your car. Be in that moment. Pulled up alongside someone the other day having a slice of pizza, talking on the phone, driving a car with the knees. Won't even tell you if it's a guy or a girl. Won't even tell you. Talking on the phone, eating a slice of pizza, operating a 6,000-pound motor vehicle at 55 miles an hour. Oh, you know what? Probably listening to a meditation app. I stand corrected. They were on their phone doing a meditation app, eating a slice of pizza, driving a 6,000-pound ball of metal and plastic and computers down the highway at 55 miles an hour. Excuse me, who am I? What? Oh, please, Brian, you're just you. Yeah, let's run right out and buy another meditation app. Or. Oh, I need a mantra. Brian. That's why I'm into this type of meditation. They gave me my own top secret, universally inspired mantra. Good to know. Can I give you a universally inspired mantra? You want to know the one that I use? 2 words. Goonie goo goo. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know Goonie goo goo. I don't know. Goonie goo goo. No. You know what mine is? Thank you. I need a mantra? Thank you. And you can pick out the you. You can pick out the target. You define the divine. Big bang, big breath. Who cares? You should. I don't. Not for you. I care for me. But what you do is none of my business. I'm simply suggesting that your mantra could be, thank you. There's your guided. or I will most certainly. I'll sell you a guided meditation app. Just send me $9.99. And it'll be my voice going, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. $9.99. Or if you order before midnight tonight, I'll throw in 2. You just pay extra shipping and handling. Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, maybe I'll throw in a goonie goo goo every so often. Come on, right? Be fired up about the sound of your own heart beating. You know what I used to do early on? I put on the stethoscope so I could feel the sound of my own heartbeat. I could feel it and hear it all at the same time. Another great one I like, you can put your 2 fingers. If you want to do something with your fingers during meditation, put it on your wrist. Feel your own pulse. There's your app. And if you want to count your pulse, do it with an Australian accent. That's cool. You probably get a Rosetta Stone teaching you how to do your own guided meditation with an Australian accent. Or you could just feel your own pulse. And you go, well, I'm having a hard time today thinking of things to be grateful for. How about your own pulse? You and I could do that. And I suspect you and I already do. But for those of us in our lives, I was just heartbroken yesterday to read that now they say this, you have your midlife crisis, but now it's a quarter life crisis, and all kinds of teens into their early 20s, clinical depression. Do me a favor, if you don't mind. If you have someone that you know that's suffering, that's down on themselves, that's not their own best friend, that's not their own biggest fan, would you just ask them to tune in for one show? Just one show. Well, that's all. No charge. Just ask them to tune in and listen to some of the things that we discuss here on All Natural Being. Because what's happened to the human mind? Has it so devolved over the last 20 years that depression has just now seeped in? No, not epigenetically, not anyway. It's what we focus on. And we're depressed when we focus on something other than our all-natural being.
Oh, I posted that last selfie and it just looked like crap.
Or you can focus on your all-natural being. Be thankful that you can even afford a phone that could take a selfie in the first place. Be thankful that you even have a face to take a picture of. The mantra? Thank you. And when you do that, when you look at the world differently, the world looks back at you differently. Because remember, when it comes to the secret,
Oh, I got a secret.
manifestation, law of attraction, you attract what you are. If you're longing, you attract more longing. If you're happy, you attract more happiness. That's the law of the jungle. That's how it works here in the garden of the mortals. And don't let any snake oil salesman or saleswoman, don't want to be sexist, any snake oil salesperson try to sell you a different belief. For 20 minutes, sit, stand. Put your index and middle finger of one hand on your opposite wrist. Feel your own pulse. Breathe in, breathe out based on that own pulse. And then you can talk to yourself in any accent you like.
Oh, no.
All right, my friends, we got to get out of here. It's been a full hour. Sorry again, this wasn't a live show, but the rain's coming down pretty good. I just want to make sure that I got the signal up. So tune in tomorrow, assuming that we have power and the rains haven't, the rains still aren't hitting, it will be a live show. But thank you so much, as always, for giving me a full hour. Please remember, you get anyone 15 older that feels depressed, feels bummed, isn't happy with life, have them just tune in. Ask them just for just one time to come, tune in, listen to the show, and let me see what we can do with that. Because I guarantee you, it's simply because they've forgotten who they already are. All right, love you guys. I'm going to get out of here. See you soon. Bye.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
Into every life a little rain must fall. Time to go play in some puddles.
IPMNation.com.